The best seat in the house is my perspective of the industry, whether I'm on the stage or off the stage.
You just need to be diligent in making sure you're practicing
Yes, sir.
and investing in yourself.
A David Whitworth song from Bethel is different than a Joe Volk song from Bethel. That's different than a Dan McMurray song from Hillsong. That's different than a Simon Kobler song from Hillsong United. The list goes on.
It just boils down to being a good human. That will open up doors, but not only give you the gig, but like give you true friendships.
Welcome to the podcast. I've been wanting to have you on ever since I met you at the WFL hang.
Yeah.
When we had pizza.
Yeah.
So you're finally here.
Finally made it.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. And we get to be on tour together. So
I
it's
know.
been really cool.
Yeah, dude. How has the tour been for you so far? How do you feel personally about everything?
Yeah, I feel like the tour's been really great, honestly.
Okay.
This has just been such a crazy season in the Big Daddy Weave camp, just with everything that happened with Jay and at the beginning of the year. And so it's just been this kind of weird season just to kind of navigate a little bit, and I mean, having you guys out has been great, and you guys bring a lot of energy and a lot of fun to the night, and because there's some heavy moments, especially during our set, and we kind of planned for that because we knew this was going to be kind of a time to just kind of continue to grieve and continue to kind of walk that process a little bit. But I feel like it's been really good, just a healing time for all of us in the band, and just a time for us to kind of come together a little bit, and I definitely feel that. I feel like we're a lot closer than we have been in a long time, and I feel like we are just having fun playing music. You know, which is really cool.
Yeah, man, it's been so cool to kind of firsthand witness how you guys have handled, one of your first tours, coming back. For those of you that don't know, Jay Weaver, the bass player for Big Daddy Weave, had passed away early 2021.
It was January of
January,
this year.
so still within this year. We're at the end of 2022, so yeah, and then you guys obviously grieving, and you guys have been, he'd been with you guys for forever, since the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So to see you guys went on tour with Katie Nicole, was that your first tour after everything
we
happened?
had, so that right after that we were out. We had Mike Donahue out with us and Ryan Ellis.
Okay.
They were out, and then we Katie came and did like kind of a handful of shows on some of those dates that we were out.
Yeah, so you've done 2 tours since that had happened, since he had passed. What was that like, as far as if you don't mind talking about it, for you personally, and I guess as a collective, as an entire band, that process, because that tour was fairly close, after everything had happened, and then that happening, and then going right into a tour. What was that like after experiencing something so heavy?
Yeah, man, that was really a heavy time. It was weird, just knowing that Jay was gone, and this is going to be kind of the new normal.
Yeah.
And obviously we have Raul in that position, which has been amazing. He's just such a great person, and just such a great he's just such a great believer, and just such an encourager, and just, he's just been kind of around us, and just really just kind of caring for each of us individually, in just certain ways, and so it's been really good to have that, since the whole transition has happened. And but man, coming back into that, it's kind of like, this is odd, this is weird, but this is what it has to be,
right?
And trying to just figure that out, and knowing, like, we're still called to do this. We're still called to go and to sing the songs and to worship, right along with the people that are coming to worship. You know? It's like we're a part of that as well, even
Right.
though we're hoping to kind of lead that, you know. And so yeah, just trying to figure that out as far as like, you know, yes, we're still called to do this. You know, there was a moment there where it was kind of like, do we continue?
Yeah.
You know, does it stop? You know, and I know that was a big question for Mike. But yeah, it's like there's still songs in us. There's still ministry to happen through us, you know. And so yeah, to continue on doing that, and knowing that yes, okay, it's going to be a different time. It's going to be a different season. It's going to look a little different, but we just go and kind of figure out how that works.
Yeah.
You know, in the meantime.
And that's awesome. I think one thing that people don't really think about is offstage time. You know, a lot of times people see us up there, you know, doing our thing every night, and they think of that part of tour. You know, that's what touring is, that's what traveling is, that's what work is. But, you know, you're only on stage 1 to 2 hours out of every day, and then you have the other 22 hours to you're spending with those people. So you know, not only are you missing a great bass player on the stage, but you're missing a really great guy off stage as well. And there's that side of it that I think a lot of people kind of don't think too much about. It's been so awesome to really see you guys and listen to Mike every night, you know, talk about Jay, because I never personally met him, but I can tell just how great of a person he was and how much of an impact he was on the band and anyone that the band encountered, whether it was people coming to shows or other artists or other people in the industry that you're, you know, on the road with. But like I said earlier, I think it's so cool to see you guys coming on the road and not act like it never happened, because you guys honor him every single day and every single night, on stage and off stage, and that is very, very clear. But you guys, from my perspective, haven't skipped a beat. Like, you still are on that stage killing it every night, and doing your thing. And I just think that's been incredible.
Well, thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, you know, he's always going to be with us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's no just shutting that off and putting it aside. You know, it's like that was a member of our family, and especially for Mike, you know, his brother. You know, it's like that's 20 plus years, almost 25 years. Yeah. You know, in a band, and you know, so you can't just, you know, push that off and put it in a closet. You know, and be like, oh, that just didn't exist. You know? Yeah. But yeah, just to honor and remember him, you know, and what we do, and his heart behind what we do. You know, he really had a heart for people, and just seeing the kingdom advance, you know, night after night in what we did. Yeah. You know, that was his main goal. And he played bass on the side, kind of thing, you know. So it's like he just really wanted to do what Jesus wanted him to do every night. So,
I love that. Yeah. Well, you had mentioned Mike and Jay were doing this 25 plus years. What is your story? How long have you been with Big Daddy Weave? How long?
Yeah, actually coming up in January, so January 23 will be 10 years for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, man. It's crazy that it's been 10 years already. It's like at times I feel like that's been a long time. Then other times I feel like, no, it's really short, you know. But yeah, man, 10 years being with the band. It's really cool. You know, I kind of came in right after Redeemed was released. You know, and there was, you know, great success with Redeemed. Yeah. Came in right after that, so that kind of carried the band through, and we saw God just kind of open up a bunch of doors just after that, you know, and just what he was doing through the music and through the songs that came from that record, you know. Wow. And just how, I mean, just there's stories every night of just like, you know, hey, this song has meant so much to me, and this song turned my life around, and you just hear it all over the place, you know. Yeah. So it's like, it's really cool to be a part of something like this, you know, and just see what God's doing. Yeah, you know? Yeah, it's so cool.
Dude, that's awesome. So I know I just met you this year, a few months ago, and I personally know you from, you know, as far as a career, Big Daddy Weave. Before Big Daddy Weave, what was life like? What was career like? Or what were you doing? Yeah. Were you in music still?
I was in music, yeah. I was kind of just had my hands on a lot of different things. It was like music, and I was doing like audio, video, work and stuff like that. So, so yeah, I was kind of just in a lot of different things. You know, it's like you have the weekend gig, but it's like you need to work through the week to kind of keep things going.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's like, well, I've got a tour for so long, but then it's like, oh, I got to do something else on the
Yeah.
side. And so yeah, just had a lot of different things happening. You know, I played with different worship leaders around town.
Okay.
Different country gigs,
Yep.
you know, here and there, you know, weekend things. Yeah, and playing for, you know, local churches and just, you know, helping, kind of being, you know, a sub for people to kind of go in and just fill in for a Sunday here.
Okay.
So yeah, I do kind of a lot of that even still today,
Now?
you know, even with Big Daddy Weave. So
Okay.
it's like when we're not touring as heavy or anything like that, it's like I have time open. It's like I can go do, you know, other things with other people at times.
Yeah.
You know? So that's good.
When did you move to town? Or are you originally from the area?
I'm not from the area. I grew up in a really tiny town in West Virginia.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and I hear all the jokes about West Virginia, you know, every time. So, but yeah, I moved to Nashville. I guess, man, it's probably been 20 years ago.
Wow.
About 20 years. So yeah, been there a long time. Man, I just kind of got started just doing little things for bands and artists, just kind of getting out on the road, just selling merch or, you know, whatever. It's just like I just wanted to get out and, you know, do things. And we just kind of slowly, you know, worked my way up to get into the slot where I'm playing drums and playing for different people. And, you know, it's just this gig took me to this gig and just kind of on and on and on. And, yeah, and it was so weird, man, just kind of the whole journey of playing and you being a drummer, you know, it's like there's always different, you know, opportunities and different things happening. And,
for sure.
You know, and you go through those seasons where, you know, it's like, all right, I got this tour, I'm seeing this happening. After that, there's really nothing on the books, you know, and you're seeing, you know, it's like, okay, what's happened next? What's going to happen next? And where am I going to be, you know, needed, you know, and where can I fill in or do whatever?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so there was a season when I was in that right before Big Daddy Weave, and I was, you know, kind of doing some different things and looking at the calendar and kind of like, what's next? You know, what am I going to do? What's the next career move, you know, kind of thing? And what's the next artist I'm going to be working for, you know, that kind of stuff. And wasn't really seeing, you know, anything, you know, coming up in the future. And through the great advice of my wife, she was like, you should reach out to Jim. For those of you listening, Jim Shearer is Big Daddy Weave's manager.
Yeah.
And at the time, I knew of Jim because we went to church together, and I knew what Jim did. Knew he was in management, and, you know, worked in music business and stuff. And she's like, you should just go talk to him, and just tell him, you know, what you want to do. You know, it's like at that time I was like, I really feel called to get into, you know, Christian music and feel more drawn to that. You know, it's like, but I don't know how to get into that.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
It's like, you know, I've done so much of the country stuff and I've had such a connection with people there, but it's like getting into the Christian world, you know, you'd think it would just kind of like, oh, you just contact this person and get in. It's like, well, it doesn't really work that way, you know? And so she's like, just go talk to him and see if there's opportunities or something that could happen, you know? And man, it's just so awesome to see how the Lord works, because that was in October that I had set up a meeting with him, and we had coffee. I just told him, you know, hey, this is what I would love to do. He's like, yeah, you know, if I hear of anything, I can let you know. And man, 2 months later in December, I get a phone call, and he's like, hey, there's an opportunity. I'm not sure if you'd be interested, but Big Daddy Weave's drummer is going to be leaving in January, and we're going to need to fill that position. Would you be interested in coming to audition? And I was just like, well, yeah, that'd be great.
Wow.
You know, I was like, that'd be awesome, you know? And, you know, I was the kind of the odd guy in that situation, you know, they didn't know anything about me.
Yeah.
You know, the other guys that were auditioning, they kind of knew and have, you know, met or played with at some point you know, in their career. And so, you know, it's like, you know, the beginning of the new year. So it was like, you know, New Year's, and got family coming in town and all this kind of stuff.
Chaotic.
And then I get the email of like, okay, so here are the songs you need to learn and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, all right, well, I need to do my homework.
Yep.
And you guys go have some fun, and I'm just going to stay at home, and I need to just woodshed and just, you know, practice and learn these songs, you know, for the audition. And man, it's one of those. It's like I've done auditions for other artists and different things, and you don't get the gig or whatever, and it's kind of one of those like, well, all right, let's just try this and see what happens, and get in there, and you're like, all right, I feel like I did my best, and did what I was supposed to do. And, and I remember them saying, okay, we'll let you know in about 48 hours or so. They had like, I think there was 4 or 5 of us that were in to audition.
Okay.
And I remember I had a little side job that I was doing, and the next morning I was doing some install stuff, and I get a call from Jim that next morning, and I was like, oh, this isn't good. They're calling me already. Like, come on. And he goes, we talked about it last night, and we all decided that we think you're the guy. And I was just completely blown away, and I was like, what? Like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Like, this is just crazy. I couldn't believe it. And
wow.
I was like, okay, this is amazing. All right, so let's do this, And I remember calling my wife after that and telling her, and she's at work, and she's just screaming like, yes, this is awesome,
Yep.
So it's super cool, man. Such an awesome thing, there were, and not to go too far into that, but there's, to just kind of elaborate a little bit, the guys really had a great team of people just kind of praying through all of the guys that were auditioning. And just like, they would say, here's the names of the guys, just pray over it. Let us know if you're hearing anything, you feel anything, any of that kind of stuff. And they knew a little bit, like I said, about some of the guys, but for me, they didn't know anything. And I remember Jay saying that the person that you're going to hire will be clearly highlighted, and it was just like everything that they were kind of getting back from me, they didn't have anything, so it was clearly like a highlight. It was like, there's nothing, we're not getting anything here. It was like, for this guy, we're we've been praying, we feel this, or and we're like, we don't really feel anything here, and so it was like, just really kind of stood out. And just to look back on that and think, man, the Lord was really moving in that, and really working, and really putting something together that has been really beautiful, and to be here for 10 years, it's like pretty amazing.
Yeah, dude, that is such an incredible story. I knew none of that, by the way. I think a lot of people really want to know what everything you just kind of explained looks like, because there's no one way to make it, so to speak, and right. That term or that phrase, to make it, means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Sure. Yeah.
Whether you're in the Christian industry or whether you're in the country industry or wherever, you know. So there's not one specific way. Like, for everyone, it doesn't involve moving to Nashville. It doesn't involve doing what we've done to get to where we are today. And in your situation, it was talking to somebody that in my situation, it was being contacted by somebody that I had a mutual friend with. You know, it's just different for everyone.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people that will listen to this kind of want to know what the audition process looks like for something like the Big Daddy Weave thing. As far as the technical elements of it, how many songs, when you went in, like, what did it look like, and how did you prepare for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so my outlook on that is, man, I want to be truly just over prepared, and being a musician, it's so different than doing any kind of other job. There's so much, especially with what we do, in Christian music, there's a lot of emotion. And I guess that's true with a lot of different genres of music, but it's like there's just a lot of emotion and feeling that need to go into music, and you kind of, as a band, you need to feel like you've played 1,000 shows together.
Yeah, for sure.
So in the audition process, you don't have that. It's like you have one show. Kind of. It's like your audition, and it's like, so you need to make that feel like you've played with these guys for years.
Yeah.
And man, my outlook on that, I got the songs. I think there were 6 songs that we kind of went through, and man, I really I wanted to know, okay, are they playing these any different, live than they did from the record?
Yeah.
Are there different arrangements? All this kind of stuff. So I went down the rabbit hole of YouTube and just like YouTubed all kinds of live footage.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I would put the song in
Yep,
and just
smart.
go through and different, just different nights of them playing, and see like, is there anything different,
Yeah.
any different little hit, any little different stop, or stuff like that. And so I would do that. I would kind of just go through, listen to the songs. I kind of a nerd in this, I guess, but I would set up cameras and I would video myself playing.
Nice.
And would like play and watch it back and just see like, am I like, this weird face, or
Wow,
and just
that's
seeing
smart.
like, am I loose, am I playing, comfortable, am I, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like because it's a show.
Yeah.
And it's part of it. It's like you want to feel like you're fitting
Yep.
into all that kind of stuff. So I just did all of that, and man, I just, for hours, for a while. I mean, it was probably a week of really just putting in all those, long days of like listening and playing and just going over those parts. And I remember just playing intros on just loop, playing the intro, loop it, just playing it over and over and over
Yeah.
to certain songs, just so I could get the feel right, and, I think that was a big thing for going into that audition, because when I sat down to play with the guys, man, it just like, as soon as we started, it just like felt good, and it just felt like we'd played for, 5 years
Yeah.
together, and we just had that kind of connection in that moment. you
Yeah,
know?
for sure.
And man, auditions are hard. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of trying to memorize, because it's like, you don't really want to go in with charts and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. It's
definitely.
like you want to come
Yeah,
prepared and know
exactly.
everything, and so knowing those little things, and a lot of that too is listening to the other musicians as well. And I know, especially with like Raul,
Yeah.
out here on this tour.
Yep.
He and I have a lot of fun at night, and we'll kind of change things as we're playing.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I've noticed that.
we'll do little hits or little kick and
Yep.
bass things, and he'll play a little pattern. And it's like, oh, I like that, and I'll kind of answer back,
Yep.
and something. And so it's fun to play off people with that, and because that's where the emotion and that's where the energy comes from.
Yeah.
Because you can play the part, and just sit down and play it and do everything that might be right, but is the emotion there? Is the feeling there?
Yes, exactly.
All of that. So.
Yeah, especially when you have that immediate chemistry. That's a big part of it, whether you're in Christian music or not. When you show up to an audition, and not only do you come prepared, but you sound good with the other people, you feel comfortable with the other people, and that energy is matched, and it goes both ways.
Yeah.
I've had way more auditions that I haven't gotten the call back
Yeah.
versus auditions that I have, and a lot of times looking back at it, sometimes I felt completely prepared and I felt great, but I could kind of tell the other people weren't really vibing with me, or they weren't really feeling, that it was a good fit. And then there was times where I didn't feel as confident in myself, but the other people just loved how we connected, and I ended up getting the callback. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting because my audition with Austin was kind of around like the COVID era, or like it was still, there was still isolation and separation and stuff going on and quarantining, and mine was a video audition. And
Oh, wow.
I've only done a handful of those for like, hey, there's an artist in California that needs somebody, like, and I'm in Texas at the time, or hey, this church I'm auditioning for, they do video auditions and then they do an in-person audition, and
Yeah.
after, if you get a callback. So that was very interesting because I had the opportunity to just edit the heck out of everything, like quantize every single note, make everything sound perfect, and that was very tempting, because there was a certain amount of pressure that wasn't there because you don't have to nail everything in person.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I didn't want to like cheat,
Sure.
essentially. And so I ended up just doing everything pretty much raw, and then slapping like a very, very basic mix on my drums. And thankfully they loved it, and I got the part. But that's another thing, is like how you get to where you are is different for everyone, and so is, you know, something as simple as an audition process. Like,
Yeah.
I know people that have done one audition and they got it. I know people that have been seen at a local club or something by management and they got a part from there. And
Yeah.
I know people that have gone through 5-6 rounds of auditions before they got a part with, you know, a major touring artist,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy just how many different ways there are,
Yeah.
you know, to experience something like that.
Yeah, there's no right way. You
Yeah.
know, and there's no formula. You can't sit down and be like, here's how you get a gig in Nashville.
Exactly. I
You know?
wish there was, at least when I was looking into everything before I moved in 2020. And there's a lot of cool, great resources out there, but that's one of the reasons I started this podcast. Is I was in a position where, you know, I everything from working at a church on staff in worship and creative to cleaning toilets at another church.
Yeah.
No matter what I was doing, or, you know, working at the mall, but no matter what job I had, like, the end goal was to, like, make that money, to save, and then be able to tour full time one day.
Mhm.
And there was no handbook or
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
I had listened to a few podcasts, interviews, and stuff like that where, you know, some drummers gave their insight. But when I moved to town, my other goal, aside from touring full time, was like, I'm in a town where there are so many incredibly talented drummers and musicians. Like, why don't I just pick their brains and see
Absolutely.
what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, and see if there's a common denominator between all of those that could maybe potentially help somebody that's listening to this
Yeah,
podcast.
Absolutely, man. That's so good. So good.
But yeah, so, and it's also an excuse to meet a lot of really cool people.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay, so one thing I do really want to touch on is
Okay.
your playing. Are you left-handed or are you right-handed and you just play open-handed?
Man, that is the question I get a lot.
Yeah.
Because people look at my setup sometimes and be like, explain. you
Yes.
know? So I am left-handed.
Okay.
I play open-handed.
Yeah.
So I learned that when I was kind of first starting playing drums when I was around 12 years old. You know,
Really?
there was a drummer in Nashville, incredible drummer. He's played on, oh man, I can't tell you how many platinum, gold, you know, records and singles.
Yeah.
His name's Eddie Bayers, and he plays open-handed. And just watching that, it was kind of like, oh, that's cool, you know.
Really?
And for one thing, it was like it opened me up to be able to set in and play on somebody else's drums. You know, it's like if I was left-handed, I couldn't really get up and play, you know, on
Yeah.
somebody else's kit because it's like you're trying to cross over, you know, it's like it'd just
Exactly.
be weird, you know. And I didn't feel comfortable playing right-handed, traditional kinda
Right.
crossover thing. But playing open, it was like, oh, this feels good, you know,
Really?
and I like this, you know, and
Wow.
I can get up and set in and play on anybody's drums, you know, and feel at home, you know, like, okay, I got this, you know, it's good, you know. And for me being left-handed, you know, I do a lot of left-hand lead kind of stuff.
Yep.
You know, so I have the floor tom over next to my hi-hat
Yeah.
as well. So, which it just kind of creates, you know, some interesting, you know, moments and little things that I
Yeah.
can kind of do, you know. With the left end lead, you know, on the floor tom, and then I can kind of go around the kit,
Yeah.
you know, and kind of back and forth a little bit, you know, that
Yeah.
way. Keep the hi-hat going while playing different tom grooves
Right.
and different things like that as well. And
Wow.
so, yeah, that's just kind of how I learned, and very thankful for that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like I feel like it's given me opportunities, and I've been able to step into certain things where otherwise I wouldn't probably been able to or
Right.
felt comfortable to do
Exactly.
it. You know?
So, for those of you that don't know what this setup looks like, so Brian plays your traditional, like a right-handed kit with, you know, a rack tom and a floor tom in the normal places, but then off to the left of his hi-hat, like you said, he has another floor tom. What is it, a bigger floor tom than the one that's on your right, or is it smaller? Or
So
the same?
my toms are 13-inch rack, and then 18-inch on my right, like traditional setup.
Okay.
And then I have a 16
A 16
over
there.
by the hi-hat.
Okay. So a lot of, you know, what a lot of people like me in some setups would put like a side snare, like a, you know, a lower, fatter tuned snare on the left side of your hi-hat. You have your floor tom. And I've been able to see, because I was really, that was one thing I was really excited for this tour, was to be able to watch you and see how you implement that. And the way you can come up with certain fills and do certain things that I never could, because you do lead with your left hand and you can go to that left floor tom instead of, where I would go to my normal right floor tom.
Yeah.
And the way that I think that's so cool about your playing is like you have the flexibility to do certain things that right-handed drummers couldn't do unless we really, really worked on our left hands. But even then, like, it wouldn't be as comfortable in a lot of settings. But yeah, dude, I think that setup is so cool. I've only seen it like a handful of times.
Dude, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's always, and it's kind of fun going in and listening, as things are getting set up and hearing people kind of put, the kit together and helping out with that. And they're like, oh, wait, the ride cymbal goes here?
Yeah.
And what's this drum over here on this side? It's like they're so confused,
Yeah.
And then when I can kind of sit down and talk to them and explain a little bit to them, they're like, oh, okay, makes sense now.
And I think for me, probably the most impressive thing, which I'm sure it's just muscle memory for you and so instinctive at this point, but I'm trying to think of like when I started learning drums, even if I was left-handed, the individual like limb independency you would have to lead with your left hand, but then lead with your right foot, because when you're playing stuff, you're playing with your right foot still, right?
Yeah.
But you're leading with your left hand, and that's so backwards from how like I or most right-handed players or even left-handed players that play on left-handed kits, they're leading with your left hand and your left foot.
Yeah.
But you are like just pushing both at the same time, and I've tried it before just to mess around playing open-handed, and it's so awkward for me. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
It just kind of blows my mind how that just felt comfortable to you at the get-go.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to force it.
Yeah. I think one thing that really helped me too is like I didn't start on a drum kit. Like I had a snare drum, a brush, and a stick, and I would learn to just play little grooves, with my hands on the snare, and play along to some songs and just kind of figure out that as I kind of went. And then when I got the drum kit, it would just kind of help me to kind of be like, oh, I can take this hand and move it up here, and play, or I could do this, and so it just kind of helped, just kind of, I don't know, it's like a good starting point for me, I guess, instead of just getting thrown right into a drum kit and being like, oh gosh, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and I think the way I play, I mean, if I've done it for so long now, that being able to separate, both sides and play different things with, the independence like you were talking about. It's just like, it's just comfortable. It's just easy now. It's like I don't really think about it. I just sit down and play, and it's just there. But yeah, I remember those days of learning and just being like, okay, kick here, hat, and snare, and just figuring out how this works, and even just the simplest little groove.
The good old days, right?
Yeah.
So, we are in a different setting than I'm normally in for these podcasts. We're in the back of a tour bus.
Yeah.
And the plan for this, if everything works out, is this is going to be like my 5th episode. And so, for my 5th episode, I wanted it to be special. I'm on the road with you.
Dude, that's awesome.
So we, hopefully everything works out and we can do this.
Yeah.
So now, since we're on a bus, what does a day in your life look like when you're on the road, from when you wake up to when you go to bed?
Oh man, I would say it's pretty normal, pretty like the same, I guess, every day in most aspects, I guess.
Okay.
But I usually get up around 8 or 9 in the morning and kind of get up. I'm a coffee guy, so I make coffee on the road. And
this guy brings an entire Pelican with
Dude.
I don't even know what's in it. It looks like a science experiment.
Yeah, it's just, I love, for those listening, it's like pour over coffee. That's kind of my jam. That's what I like. So I bring the whole setup, the kettle and the grinder and the beans and the scale and everything, and just make it all. And
there's a line every day.
Yes, I've kind of become the tour barista. It's like so yeah, I'm making coffee and kind of get that started in the morning. We have our crew kind of getting loaded in and getting things set up, and I'll kind of go in and just check and see if there's anything with the kit that's like, oh, I need to, tune something or change a drum head, or help with kind of the setup if something's a little weird, or if the techs have questions on anything, I'll just kind of check in on that. Then I'm also a tour rep for our tour sponsor. This year it's Sherwood Global, and so I'm kind of the one that's setting up the sponsor table and helping with getting folks signed up during the night and getting that. So I set the table, get the cards out, get all that together. Usually after that, it's kind of like lunchtime, kind of hit lunch. And after lunch, I've usually got a couple of hours to kind of get like, emails, or if I'm working on a session, do some editing and different things like that. Then it's hotel for workout, shower, come back for dinner. Got a little bit more time in there to kind of chill.
Yeah.
Do catch up on extra little work, and then it's showtime, and after show, just kind of chill and hang out on the bus for a while, and depending on if we're watching a movie or some kind of show, or we're just up talking, can go to bed, the 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning kind of thing. So just kind of depends.
But
some nights when you're tired, you're just kind of like, yep, I'm out.
Go to bed.
So
yeah.
But pretty normal standard day, nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Nothing out of the way.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid day. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of. It kind of just depends for everyone. Some people are nonstop from like 8 a.m. to past midnight, like Pappy, the road manager on this tour. My camera died. Let me check on that really quick. All right, what were we talking about? So some people have like all day. Some people, like Pappy, from 8 a.m. to past 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. are up doing stuff, and then there's some people that get a few breaks here and there. It kind of, it's another thing. Even when you're on the road, some things just look different for everyone. Yeah, like your day to day.
For sure. Yeah.
So I think I saw you posted drum samples.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about that really quick.
Yeah. So I got a great friend named Curtis Parks, and he's a amazing worship leader, artist, and and he's helped plant a church and just different things. He's kind of a producer and engineer, and he kind of does a lot of different things. And he and I over the last few years have done a lot of work together, and we were sitting at the beginning of the year just kind of working on a single for his church, and we're kind of like, he's like, have you ever thought about doing a sample pack? And I was like, yeah, I've kind of thought about that. It's like never really kind of got past thinking about it kind of thing. And he goes, yeah, I've been thinking about that too. He goes, would you want to collab on that, and just kind of get something together? And thought about it, and I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool.
Nice.
It's like, let's do something. He goes, we won't do, the whole like, dead sounds, or any of the crazy quirky kind of stuff, which is all great. And, and I use a lot of that stuff, but, we want to just do something that was very just clean, very natural, very open, that mainly for like songwriters, producers and people that are getting like, songs started, and getting production going and stuff. They can throw these samples in, these loops and grooves and different things to kind of get something happening quick,
Yeah.
And so, man, we worked on it at the beginning of the year, and so it's been a little over 9 months of work, and we have over 400 loops, grooves, over 60 one-shots that we put together.
That's a lot.
And
wow, that's a lot of work.
It was a bunch of work, but man, it's gonna be really, really cool.
Okay.
And I think it's gonna be helpful for a lot of people. You know? And just I'm kind of curious to see how people are kind of using it and putting it in their productions. So it'd be really, really fun to see that.
And it's out already, or it's coming out?
It's out. It's not like kind of officially out. It'll kind of be out within the next 2 weeks, probably
Oh,
hitting
okay.
like everything.
Okay,
but, like it's
so-
available, but it's not like
Gotcha.
out where people can kind of grab it.
Okay, so this will probably, I'll release this in around January, so it'll be
So
out
it'll be
by
out by
then.
then, yeah.
So when it is out, where can people find that sample pack?
Oh man, yeah, you'll be able to get it on my website, brianbeihl.com, or on Curtis's website, curtisparks.com, or you can get it at Epic Stock or Splice, or it's gonna be
really?
everywhere.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's
So-
great distribution then.
Yeah, so it's gonna be kind of all over the place.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
I think yeah, you can never have too many, sample packs or drum sounds or anything if you're a
Yeah.
producer or songwriter in town.
yeah.
'Cause-
And it's I think it's just, I mean, I've got friends that do a lot of this stuff, and they do great jobs with
Yeah.
their samples, and and a lot of it's very specific to a certain sound and different things, and I was like, it's like they're kind of already doing that, it's like I don't want to kind of jump into what they're
Exactly,
already doing. So
yeah.
it's like just do something a little bit different,
yeah.
and then you can take them and manipulate it and do whatever and create your own sound out of what's already there, So yeah, it was a fun project, and
Okay.
it's gonna be really neat.
Dude, I'm gonna definitely want to pick that up
All right, cool.
to use some of those
Yeah.
sounds. Okay, well we're almost done, but the last thing I want to ask that I try to do in every episode, or I'm gonna start trying to do, is what advice do you have to the working musician or somebody that wants to be able to do music full time, in a touring aspect, basically do what you're doing now, just some practical advice, and then some spiritual advice as well that you think could help.
Yeah. Man, I think doing what we do, being very flexible is kind of key. Situations change. You get to a venue and things don't really go as planned, and kind of have to be flexible with that and be like, okay, it's like we're going to still do what we do.
Yeah.
Got to change a few things, but we're going to make it work, Being flexible in that, being easy to work with is big.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like what you were saying earlier. It's like, you're on stage for 1 to 2 hours a night, and that's only, a small portion
Right.
of your day. So the rest of those hours, you're hanging out with the rest of the band, the crew, different local crew, and, different things. So it's like just being easy to get along with,
Yeah.
being friendly to people, and even sometimes just stopping to just talk to somebody that for them, we're coming to their church to do something, this is the most exciting thing that they've had probably all year is
Yeah.
a concert coming to their church,
Yeah, it's a
so
big
it's like
deal.
just to be cordial and friendly and nice and just talk to somebody,
Yeah.
as we're there, goes a long way,
Yeah. For sure.
and so just being that, just being genuinely nice to people,
Yeah.
and that goes a long way, and I think that kind of helps, that helps kind of further what you do as your job, because man, if you're a jerk and being rude to people, it's like
Yeah.
nobody wants to be around you. And it's like
Yeah.
they'll go find somebody else that's nice, that
Yeah.
probably isn't even in the caliber musician that you are,
Yeah.
just because your attitude's better.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's
Yep.
kind of like just being nice and being friendly. I think that's a huge thing. As far as spiritual, man, it's the faith journey and the faith walk is a journey. It's such a thing that just kind of ebbs and flows, and it's like it's up and down. And man, I think just having that daily conversation and communion with the Lord is super vital.
Yes.
And just being willing to be challenged by Him. It's like the rod and the staff. It's like he's gonna
Yep.
kind of correct and change our path, and and get us where we need to be, but the staff's gonna pull us in, and he's gonna love us,
Yep.
and he's gonna take care of us, and so just being in great communion with Him, and especially doing what we're doing each night, and really wanting to see the Lord move. That's a big role, for me,
Yeah.
to just just be able to be like, okay, God, this is yours. This is your night. This this is what you want it to be, not what we think it should be, and just being open to that, it's like, and that, it kind of goes back to the flexible thing. It's like, with us in the night, if we're in the middle of the show, there could be something that the Lord really lays on Mike's heart in the middle of what we're doing, and he may just be like, hey, stop,
Yes.
we're gonna stop for a second, we need to address this, and not being freaked out and be like, really, like, we're gonna stop, it's like, man, just being sensitive to the Spirit.
Yes.
The Spirit wants to move, the Spirit wants to do something, and that's what we're there for. Just doing that and praying for your brothers and sisters out on the road. It's a hard thing. People look at what we do as musicians, and they're like, oh, it's so glamorous and it's so this and so that, and man, it's not all what it's cracked up
hard,
to be.
Man.
It's hard work.
Hard, especially when you're married and you have a family and you're leaving them every week.
Yeah. And you're constantly on, like you're just thinking and moving and working, and you're talking to different people every day, and you're having all these conversations, and you just go. It can be very draining. And so just being able to rely on your brothers and sisters out here on the road, to, if you're not feeling well, man, hey, pray for me. Hey, I'm dealing with this. Just having that. And I think that just keeps the whole atmosphere and everything of your bus, which is your home, just as kind of a safe haven, to be in and to feel comfortable and relaxed, and just like where you can feel rested and do what we need to do. You know?
Well, I can speak for everyone on this bus. We've talked, and this is by far our favorite tour we've been on, and a lot of it has to do with you guys and just how you've treated us, and we just feel like we're one big family, and we know if there's something, like, we can go to you guys and you'll take care of it, and it's just been so incredible. So thank you for
thank you for saying that,
welcoming us with open arms.
Absolutely, man. We love having you guys out, and that's kind of been our we want the experience of the tour and the show to be great, for people, but we also want for you guys who are doing the show, when you're backstage, to feel at home, feel peace, and feel, because there's been a lot of tours that have just been hectic and crazy, and there's so much going on. It's like, but we just really want to make it an atmosphere of just like peace and rest, and just this place where you can kind of feel, comfortable, and just feel at home. So,
dude, well, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. It
man,
means a
thanks
lot.
for having me.
I know you got a lot going on every day, so to be able to carve out a little bit of time to just come on here and talk for a little bit.
Sure, man.
It just means a lot.
Oh no, it's awesome. I'm honored to be a part of it, and super thankful.
Yeah, man. Well, that's it for today. What is your Instagram and stuff that people can go follow you, or website?
It's all Brian Beihl Drums, and it's Beihl. So Brian Beihl Drums. Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. And all that stuff.
You guys go follow Brian and show him some love, and hopefully we can do another episode in the future if we're on the road again.
That'd be great, man. I would love it.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
All right, guys. Well, y'all take care. We'll catch you in the next one.